I've always had nostalgia for Final Fantasy, but I've never played any of the games. Since I'm a big old nerd and love video games, I follow the news, stories, and updates associated with them, and I grew up on gaming sites and random forums, and Final Fantasy is a brand name in video games. I know the franchise, one of those IPs that stood the test of time with almost 40 years of relevance. While I've never been a fan, I've always rooted for any and all Final Fantasy entries to be phenomenal. They're like a premiere event of sorts. Any news about the next mainline game gets a lot of coverage, and reading about them as a fan from a distance made me excited for the fans who play these games. It makes sense to me. The series has been known to utilize the best in tech and art. There's always a feeling each entry will shake up the industry. Each release is a talk of the town for the moment. The IP is synonymous with video games and one of the cultural icons of the RPG space, and the flagship title of Square Enix. Through osmosis of sorts, I became a fan. I'd ask friends which one is their favorite, like I knew what they meant. I read tier lists and rankings to see how someone gauges their favorite Final Fantasy and then judge them for it. I knew fun facts of the series like how 15 was originally 13 verses, but it was in development hell for so long. And I'm loving the conversation about the future of the series, especially with the debate of action versus turn-based mechanics sparked by Final Fantasy 16. I've been a fair weather fan, keeping up with the news but never actually sitting down and playing one. And then one day, I just decided it was time to just play one of the games. And I decided it would be 7. I played the remastered version on Switch, and my takeaway? I'm upset at how long I've lived without playing this game. I can see how it's one of the most beloved video games of all time, this 1997 classic. Obviously, I'm going into spoilers for a 27-year-old game, so be aware, but my god, I can't believe how good it is, and how the remastered version at least holds up to this day and age. It's not the prettiest looking game, and the controls in my modern game brain doesn't jive with its mechanics and lack of quality of life, but wow. Final Fantasy VII evokes the idea of epic. The enemies and bosses get more imaginative and weirder as you progress. Your abilities and powers get so powerful, it feels like it goes beyond the scope of reality. Materias and modifiers instigate opportunities for devastating blows, and super special moves involve several minute-long animations. It's inconceivable how anyone could survive the onslaught. You fight throughout an industrial steel-clad city, and you make a daring motorcycle escape on an endless highway loop. And then you explore an entire world with villages, mountains, resorts, forests, and military bases. You go from flatlands to tall peaks to the icelands of Hoth, to 10,000 leagues underwater to space and back again. You encounter ethereal beings, characters of all background, and meet Lovecraftian wonders like it's a regular Wednesday afternoon. The quests somehow become more and more grand. It starts off where you play as Cloud, a mercenary who helps Avalanche destroy a late-stage capitalist conglomerate to save the natural Earth. An already heroic-sized objective, but the consequences of your actions invite greater threats to the world. Mob bosses, dragons, giant mechs, and militaries form a constant stream to stop the heroes from making any kind of progress to saving the planet. But all of them are second fiddle to the silver fox connected to the main protagonist's past. You and your cohorts go on a long, arduous adventures through time and space, and even with the confines of purgatory, to fight your foes. You fight on land, in the sky, underwater, in caves. There are twists and turns throughout the story that drastically alters the severity of the conflict. Each of the main party characters all have their own personal story arcs that intertwine with your own journey. The friends you make along the way all feel the weight of what's at stake if you all fail, and they stick with you all the way to the end. Everything about Final Fantasy VII is epic. The story, setting, the fact that it was on 3 separate discs when it came out on the original PlayStation. A grand adventure spread throughout a claustrophobic city. Jungles, towns, villages, an amusement park, the past, present, and while in stasis. There's a bit of silliness that breathes life in a world full of dread and hopelessness. The game works like waves. It has this ebb and flow of gently easing you into futuristic sci-fi world and then rushing into the fantastical nature of some hippie natural Earth is great stuff. At times, it's a fever dream where fighting the evil haunted house as a boss is too random, and it just somehow works. And a lot of times there isn't any explanation for why something happens. It just exists within this reality and we accept it. The bad guys range from cartoonish to outright foils of god complex, with one having perceived power and the other seemingly the unstoppable destruction of the world. Not to mention, there's a plethora of minigames and side content all there for you to play with in this seemingly vast open world. I pinch myself for not having this game be one of my core memories of games. I didn't have a PlayStation as I was a scrawny Nintendo nerd, but I'm amazed at how well this game just flows. When I started, it took me a minute to get into it. Obviously, the lack of quality of life mechanics like autosave was something I had to get used to. But then I finally understood how the systems work and the game opens up. Playing the remastered version is really nice as you can speed the game with 3x speed, blocking random encounters, and also enabling God mode where you can't be killed and you just use your ultimate attacks for every turn. So yeah, I didn't suffer like I would possibly if I played this game when I was like 7. But that 3x speed was nice to run through the map, or those long hallways, or turning off random encounters just made it better. But while these little changes do make the game more playable now, the actual base game is the bread and butter. The turn-based encounters are dynamic, incorporating a timer intensity for you to strategize well to win the fight. There isn't a wrong approach per se. You need to be willing to learn the systems. Everyone having the ability to use magic powers is neat. You have a sort of custom character that fits whatever mood you want. It's great trying to level up certain materials or playing with your favorite characters and having them use magic no matter how weird or inconsistent it may be. And speaking of characters, what a cast of amazing personalities. Final Fantasy VII's character roster for the most part are archetypes of sorts, but the devs added dimensionality to them. The obvious standout to me is Barret. Basically, his design is Mr. T with a minigun for a right arm, but he has so much bravado and gung-ho energy, it's inspiring. He's an extremely loving father who is on this quixotic mission to destroy Shinra and save the planet, not only because he wholeheartedly believes in this righteous mission, but for his daughter, who he adopted due to the tragedy of his comrades several years ago. He is so charismatic and blunt about the state of the world, you can't help but just join his cause to fight against capitalism and its blood-sucking grip on the planet. And other characters have their own unique traits. Aerith, or Aerith, I'm just gonna say Aerith, is cheeky and playful with childlike optimism even when doom is constantly right at the doorstep. Her demeanor may be sweet and whimsical, but she is still strong, being the last remaining ancient and always in the pursuit of the villains. And even though I knew she would die at the halfway point, it was still unexpected to feel an emptiness when she's not in your party anymore. Tifa is the childhood crush of Cloud and another key member of Avalanche, yet she still clings to the simplicity of life before it turned to shit. She takes charge and takes matters into her own hands all the time. Her dedication to helping out anyone and everyone is admirable, and her devotion to supporting Cloud while he was in a coma saved his life and the world. While Aerith is the heads, Tifa's on the tail side of the ideal dream girl coin. Sid is probably the most of his times character, if you know what I mean. But I gotta say his introduction was hilarious. The first thing he does is curse out the woman who adores him, and then we find out he has held this grudge against her for all this time because he thought she was at fault for why he hasn't been in space. And even when he finally goes up there, he still curses her out until the revelation that she was right the entire time. Oh, and he becomes the main character for a minute while Cloud is comatose. I love Yuffie and how hilarious she is, being a thief who doesn't necessarily have a heart of gold. She does steal all your material at a certain point of the game, which locks you into a hard-ass quest to get it back. Apparently this caused people to restart the entire game because of how hard it is. And yeah, I actually ran into that issue, but luckily I played this in the 21st century with a freaking online guide of how to get past this brutal part. I just love how chaotic Yuffie is, and another example of this game really busting your chops. And you got other characters like Red 13 and his conflict, being an imprisoned experiment and having a touching revelation about his father. And his grandfather is a human, and I didn't understand that part, and it took me a long time to realize he's adopted. I guess translation issue. K-Sith is a combination of a mech controlled by a cat controlled by some undercover Shinra operative in Midgar. Oh, and there's a vampire dude named Vincent who can join your party. There's no shortage of possibilities in the world of Final Fantasy VII. And then we got Cloud. From my nostalgic, never played this game before perspective, I knew he's a popular figure. His face is all over anything at Final Fantasy VII related, and even shows up in Super Smash Bros. But I was surprised at how much of a dick he is. At the beginning, he plays a calm, cool, collected gun for hire with a childhood connection to Tifa, but he's also a huge jerk. I thought I wouldn't like his character based on the first few hours, but his arc and the story that follows is full of heartbreak, rage, and fun. He ends up being a dynamic character due to not just his own journey, but from his relationship with the friends he made. Aerith cracking open his tough shell, Tifa helping him find his sense of self and his worth, and Barret developing the bromance any cool character needs. Cloud's journey as a character is as epic as the story and game. The twist that he wasn't the Cloud we thought he was throughout the game was stunning. In fact, all of these characters have gone through it all. Each of their own arcs pays off in one way or another. They resolve the shortcomings they have felt in their life and use that as a catalyst to help each other and save the world. Oh, and I guess there's also Sephiroth. He sucks. I don't mean that in a bad way. The allure of Sephiroth is how much of an enigmatic character he is. The lore of him being a true fearless hero who fell from grace is an amazing little detail. You start the story with him seemingly dead, but has mysteriously returned with bloodlust focus on becoming a god with his delusion of being the last Cetra or ancient. And the story is bonkers. 7 is still relatively fresh to me, and I don't have the same nostalgia many people have, so I'm not surprised of the effort to remake this classic as a trilogy. The adventure is grand. It's so easy to compliment this game by saying it is epic, and I'm 1000% sure I'm not the first person to realize that. But it's hard to describe Final Fantasy VII as any other way. I played countless games where the weight of the world is on my shoulders, and I play even more games like that. It's a sweet premise, and it won't ever not be satisfying, of course. Some games do it better than others for sure, and I've wondered why that is. If I thought gameplay or the story or the difficulty has something to do with it. But Final Fantasy VII makes it all work. It was able to capture lightning in a bottle with a perfect blend of gameplay, story, and tone. It's not hard to see how this game has stood the test of time for many fans. And 7 proves how it's actually the entire package wrapped together. Its story has rippled through generations of fans. Its legacy persists to this day and beyond. Its themes echo and echo inside my head long after I played it. I still haven't played the other 100 Final Fantasy games, but I'm glad I sat down and played Final Fantasy VII.